And we are live.
Hi, everybody. It's a lovely day. And you get to see our faces today.
I know, because we're ready. We're here to talk about We Are Dying Gods by C.M. Lockhart and how this book has had us in a chokehold from February 1st through February 29th. And we're here to discuss all the things.
Right. It's like, to be fair, we read this book for the Black Book Summit this year, and we think we're going to keep this kind of chill, celebratory of Black authors vibe for next year, too. But by no means was this a chill read.
Not at all. Like, we had moments. I blacked out at one point. I don't think that's ever happened to me while I was reading a book. Like, I literally came to and was like, did I just what? Did that actually happen? And I had to go back and reread. And I was like, it did in fact actually happen. Wow.
I must say, I experienced an immense amount of satisfaction at the end of this book. And because I actually like the fact that we waited a couple of extra days to have this discussion, because the ending actually had time to kind of settle, marinate. Like, I had more things to talk about now. And I was like,
yes. But before we get started, just in case this is the first time you are ever coming across one of our lives, welcome to Black Prose Book Club, where Black lives, Black books, and Black authors have always mattered. We are your hosts. My name is Oshale of Oshi Reads here on the internet.
I'm Brittany, aka Melanin Eclectic. Sorry, I was texting my friend who had already read this book, and she was like, please remind me when you guys are talking about it so I can finally talk about it with somebody. So I had to text her like, my bad, girl, we live.
Let her know. And also, for those who have not yet read this book, this is the second book in a trilogy. It starts with We Are the Origin, so you want to start there. If you've read We Are the Origin, but you have not read We Are Dying Gods, this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. We will start off, because we will link all of our other book talks after this live is over and it's kind of saved on our channel. We will try to link all of the other book talks that we've had. We've been doing weekly book talks. Somewhere in the description video, we'll have like a playlist of all the other book talks so you can go back and watch, because we have been talking through this book. I believe, was it 5 chapters at a time or 7 chapters at a time? I can't remember, but
5 to 7, depending on which week it was. Yeah,
we broke down the chapters. And so technically we are going to be discussing the last chapters, I think 17 through 22.
Yep.
But we are also going to be talking about the entire book. So there's really no way to avoid spoilers. So I know we live in a time where people don't give spoiler alerts anymore, but this is it. This is your spoiler alert. Do not watch any further.
Thank you for coming.
If you have not,
thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Nope. Go ahead and save this video and come back, because I'm not talking about anything.
We're going in, and if you don't want to be spoiled, you don't want to watch past this point. All right, you have been warned.
You've been warned.
So first, we're going to talk about chapters 17 through 22, which were the final chapters that we read last week. So I don't want to just jump to what I really want to talk about.
I know. I was like, let me go back to chapter 17 and remind myself what that was, because obviously I want to jump to chapter 20, but we're here. So let me go back.
I was counting on you on all your little sticky notes that you usually have. Let me see.
It's funny because chapter 17 and 18, I didn't really have a lot of notes, because chapter 17 was the one chapter where I was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, is that you?
Well, no. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Yeah, chapter 17 was kind of Sarah's last. Oh, yes.
Yes, it was the chapter where I was like, wow, Sarah.
This is the most character development we got from Sarah. And you know what? I feel like the character development had been building with Sarah, slowly. Now that I look back and I digest the entire book, it had, she was annoying. But when you compare it to Sarah after the battle, letting people die because she was ruminating
Oh,
versus
that's
chapter
right.
17, Sarah, we have seen some growth. We have. We just are so annoyed by her character that we don't want to say it,
I
but
can
we
I can actually acknowledge and agree with you that, like, okay, so once it finally clicked for Sarah that it's like, this is on you or you die, it was like, she was like, okay,
I
okay,
feel
I'm
like
gonna do
she
this.
realized that she is a god. That was the character growth. She realized that
Oh
she's a
yeah,
god.
because the last chapter that she was in, her last line was, I'm a god.
Yes, and she's stepping into her power because she has this tea with I can't remember this girl's name. I have to go back
Grace.
in. The princess, huh?
Grace.
Oh yeah, Princess Grace, who is the daughter of
Bert?
um yeah.
Is it Bert or Alan? I always forget. I mixed the two up. No,
Yeah,
her last name is Bertinal.
Bertinal.
Thank you.
Yes, Bertinal. So she is the daughter of Bert, and she is one of the princesses vying for the throne. So we also see character growth because the last time she was in a scene with Grace, she just followed her willy-nilly because she was so upset with
Huh.
you
That
see, this
scene
is
still makes me mad though, because it was like the whole time that she was in the castle, it's like, if it's not us, don't trust them. She
yeah.
sees old girl and was like, all right, doo-doo.
Well, she was so upset with Noble making out with why am
That's
I
true.
blanking on her name?
Pine.
Thank you. Her name is just so off the beaten path that I can never remember it. But she
It
was
kind
so
of
upset.
fits the character very well when you describe it like that.
She was so upset with the Noble Pine makeout
Yeah.
sexual tension situation that she just followed Grace, didn't ask her who she was,
Ain't asking no
didn't
questions.
didn't ask questions. She's at the Queen's Tower. She's surrounded by snakes. She's surrounded by enemies. She's literally in enemy territory. She just went skipping along with Grace like it was nothing. So this is definitely major character development when they had this tea. And
Yeah.
Miss Sarah said, "Looky here, ma'am."
Like, because we were in her head, like, for her chapters.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, I wonder how Grace is gonna play this. Cause like, but then Grace was like, I don't even want the throne. And old girl looked her dead in her face and was like, I do not believe you.
I know. Sarah
I
was
was
like, I
like,
know I may have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night, bitch. And
not
what we're
she was
not
like,
about
I
to
was born at a sorry's nighttime. I know better than this. I'm good. Like, no.
like what we're not about to do is
I
have
was
you
just
sit
like,
across from me and tell me that we are about to be in a fight for the death and you don't care. I
I
was like,
it was
oh
the
my
first
God.
time Sarah made me laugh. Like I audibly laughed when I read it. I was like, okay. Okay,
I,
sis.
I was so proud of her in this moment. I was like, yes, finally, finally. This is the potential that I've always seen in
You
you,
have
Sarah.
been dying for Sarah to have you were like, give me a sign, a
Yes.
hint, anything that Sarah is worth it.
Anything, and she delivered in this scene. Like it was so masterfully done that even Sal was shook to his core.
Yeah.
Sal was like,
Because Sal was like, she was like, oh no, I actually believe her. And he was like, girl, like, look at you hiding your facial
Sal,
expression.
I feel like Sal was like, that was a masterclass in acting. How did you pull that off? Because she's literally like,
Considering that he's been stressed out trying to get her to get it together for so long, I'm sure that he was just as shocked with her as we were, because he expected her to fail.
Oh, it was chef's kiss. Like when
Yeah.
she walked out of that room, she was just like, it's my turn to invite you next time, right? We'll have to do this
I'll
again.
have my attendant send for you. I was like,
And then she walked out, and Sal was like, "What just happened?" And she was like, "Oh, I believe everything she said, but baby, I'm not."
I'm gonna slow clap this one. She deserves a slow clap on that one.
It was so good. I was like, "Wow, I see the potential of Sarah, and I'm really excited for book 3 now because I need her to keep going in this direction. Like, this is the direction we need to be traveling in. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Like, continue, Sarah.
I
Continue to
am
go."
continuing to reserve zero
Oh God.
expectations when it comes to Sarah. Because while we are also praising Sarah and was proud of her in that scene,
Oh
she
no.
very swiftly fell right on back off that cliff.
Oh yeah. She did. But it's one of those things where I'm starting to have a little tiny bit more compassion for her, because it's kind of like
You say
watching.
that every time, and like every time you say that, the next time you be like, I changed my mind. I don't. Every
I know.
time you say that.
It's a roller coaster, it's a roller coaster of emotions, but I feel like we're getting to see something that isn't often written about from this point of view in fantasy, where if this was another fantasy book, the unrequited pining that Sarah has for Noble would be like seen in this like great light and would be considered angst, and
Yes.
the readers would then be set up for Sarah to have this redemption arc and for Noble to eventually fall in love with her. Like, that would be the typical
That is so true.
fantasy romantic-y setup, and I really appreciate that we get to see it without that, like,
Yes.
rose-colored glasses, and it's like, no, actually, when you have an unrequited crush on someone that has no interest in you, it's just sad. It's
Right.
sad,
Because
and
we all just want her to stand up, but
you
she is
look like a
refusing.
and you just look like a stalker, and it's just unfortunate, and it's just not a cute look, and I like that new view on it, because normally in fantasy it would be like, oh my god, the angst, and oh, I hope that he starts to see her for who she really is. Like, we're not getting that. We're getting the reality, and I love that.
I also love that, like, for some reason, Noble feels like he needs to like remind her, like, yes, I'm helping you, but like, I'm just helping you. Calm down.
I don't
It's
want you.
nothing. Yeah. It's like every chance he gets, this man does not hesitate to remind her that he does not want her. And I
It's
was
a
like,
shame.
just from like a woman's standpoint, like, I'm not gonna let a man tell me that multiple times. And then the fact that like he feels like he has to say it because he can tell that she's still swooning. I was like, that is a level of embarrassment that even if it was just he and I in the room, I would feel like eternally like I needed to melt.
Oh, it's
Like,
very embarrassing for her. It's like she has enough guts and smarts
yeah,
to pull off lying to Grace and like hiding her true reactions and emotions from Grace. But when
yeah.
it comes to hiding her reaction to Noble and like kind of, sucking it up and standing up, she cannot do that. So it's very interesting to see that, the difference between the two. Like, she can pull it off with fooling Grace, but she cannot hold her composure around Noble for nothing.
Yeah, I was like, Sarah, baby, I was just reading for you in the other chapter. Um, I regret. Um,
Right?
Listen, I agree with Keisha. I don't know how many times a person can tell her no. Like I said, he had already hit the ultimate where he was like, it's not even that you're ugly, your personality is just trash. He's already hit her with that.
I know.
He's already blatantly like
I feel
picked
like the
everybody
only
around her.
I feel like the only time in fictional media of any kind that I've ever seen this kind of unrequited, unreturned interest is definitely in Family Matters with Myra and Steve Urkel. That's like the only other example I
Oh,
can think
no,
of.
because didn't he date Myra for a little while?
Yeah, Myra was definitely more likable, but that is the only example that I have.
I have to lift my laptop because
That
I
I
feel like I'm looking down, but
I'm
continue.
sure there are others, but that's just the one that comes to mind
I was just like,
because
baby.
it's just so painful to watch. Like, it's cringeworthy.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, girl.
So, wrapping up chapter 17 after that scene, where Sarah admits to Sal, and I think Mara was there too, that she does believe
So that
Grace.
was actually the whole chapter.
She then tells
Yeah.
Sal, like,
We
we need to tell Brandy, like, we need to update Brandy on this situation. So we go into chapter 18, where we go back to Brandy's domain, Temple of the Time Goddess.
which I cannot get
And
over that. Brandy's domain.
I love it. Um, I'm trying to remember this chapter because all I can think about is what I really want to talk about, but we have to go in order. So I believe,
They meet at the restaurant. All of them have
yes,
met
all
at
of
the
them start
restaurant now.
showing up, and they kind of find out that anyone that is like on Brandy's side has access to her domain. So they start showing up, and then it's like, okay, what's the plan? And then we kind of get this inner dialogue with Brandy where she's just like, I'm so tired of being the one everyone looks to have a plan. Like, I am so tired. And
It's such an opposite direction of the Brandy that we had in the first book
yeah.
that it's like,
Well, the Brandy that we had in the first book was living in this world where Freya was the goddess that she served, and she was sending people to the gods, and she was the what do they call her? A tool of the queendom. What do they call her? A blade, and I can't remember.
she was the queen's blade.
Yeah, it was like the official term. I can't remember. And so it's like she was living in a world where she was very sure of her identity and very sure of her purpose and very, very rooted in who she was and her history. And
Yes.
so she was all of her actions in book one were out of that surety and like knowing, okay, this is my mission. This is what I'm trained to do. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. All of that gets turned upside down in this book. So you kind of get to see her true emotions. And it just reminded me of how we've been talking a lot online about like the soft life and Black women tired of being strong all the time and tired of always being the one that people look to for answers, look to for help, look to for everything. Like, remember 4 years ago when they said that Black women won the election for Biden, and it's like putting that on Black women. It's like society is always looking to Black women to be the savior, to be the leaders, to be the ones with all the answers, with the wisdom, with the comfort, with the this, with the that, with the soul food, with the this
the
big mom
plan, with strategies,
everything, with the love, with the money, so I could kind of see this reflected in Brandy's exhaustion of just being like, but then it's like, but you're a god. Like, who else they gonna come to?
See,
like that realization.
It's like 1 second, I'm like, 1 second it's like, but you're a god. But then like you also think about it, like, so is Jack and Noble, and ain't nobody going to them and constantly asking them, like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And then I also kind of just have to remind myself that like Brandy never got a chance to mourn her old life.
Never.
It's like everybody else became a god, sure, but Brandy experienced something that like none of them experienced. Like Freya basically became an evil villain in her eyes. It went from being her goddess to her mother who abandoned her. Like those feelings are already so crazy. Then she meets her daddy, who turns out to be the time being that wants to destroy the world that she exists in.
Yes.
And on top of that, she learns that she is not just gifted with Freya's powers, she's a goddess herself and a time being.
In her own. Well, she realizes that she was never a reincarnation of Freya. She was always her own goddess, and now she is a hybrid goddess because she's also a time being.
But then also, like, her mother lied to her, and just, it's like Brandy was literally like punched in the gut so many times in this book. And the only times that she was ever allowed to truly feel anything other than I have to keep my shit together because people are relying on me was obviously with Jack. But then she even got a little moment with Xena, like just helping her do anything. So it's like, dang, Brandy, I feel for you, sis.
The timeline in this book is actually very short. I believe everything in the book happens within like a week span or something.
I don't think it's a week. I think it's so I think that it's the beginning chapters are the first 3 days in Freya's domain. And then I think that there's a little bit of a time jump once they leave Freya's domain. Because they're at that point they're sending people out to collect the rebels. They had already sent Sarah and Cedric and Noble to the Queen's Tower. So I'm actually not really sure.
So maybe like a month.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that there was a little bit of time between it.
It feels like a week.
It feels like a week to us because I think that, you know, by the time that there was even like a time space, we were still we were in the reveal stage still. So we were still recovering from just the realization that like, well, okay, nothing else matters because that was all a lie.
Yeah, I would say a month to 3 months, maybe.
Yeah,
What
I'm
would
gonna
be
take a
your
guess. Honestly, I don't know. I think I wrote that in a sticky note in the
I
back of my
mean,
book where I was
the
like, I'm not
latter
quite
half of
sure
the
of the
book
time frame.
the latter half of the book all took place in, like, 3 days.
Yes. Like once we got here, yeah, because it kept saying like 2 days before the opening
Mhm.
ceremony. So
Yeah.
like we would see Brandy's side of the 2 days before the ceremony, and then we would see Sarah's side of the 2 days before the ceremony.
So in chapter 18, we basically get Brandy, them all coming to Brandy, and by all I mean just her peeps being like, "What's the
Mhm.
plan?" And you know, because the ceremony is about to start, and the bid for the queendom is about to start. So it's like, okay, what's the plan? And it's basically like, um, Brandy realizing that how much she just truly does not care about
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
people. And I think Xena's daughter, Remy, is the one that's, like, disappointed in I kind of was annoyed by this part because Remy was just kinda like, "I'm disappointed. You're God."
Wait, before we got to Remy's part, we got to the part where what's his name showed his face. Um, oh my gosh, hold on.
Ooh, yes,
Where is
Russ?
it? I
Was it
gotta
Russ?
find the sticky note. No, not Russ. The guy that turned Jack in.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. What's his face's brother?
Yes. Russ's brother.
Russ's brother.
Yeah.
What
Shion.
was
Thank
his
you.
name?
Listen, Shion.
Thank you. Yes,
Listen.
Xion finally shows up, which that I honestly did not see that coming. I had
I
forgotten
did
that
not. I
existed.
feel like if
Um,
you were bold enough to steal Jack from Brandy, why would you show your face and
Look,
think that you were gonna get any
he
like
basically
you
came
thought they were
to
just gonna
beg
be like, it's cool, man, no big deal. What
he
were you
basically
thinking?
came to beg for forgiveness and throw himself on the mercy and of the gods, essentially, and
Uh-huh.
that did not work out in his favor whatsoever because they were
I
this
was like,
close. He was this close to
Delulu?
sending him back to the gods, which now whenever somebody says that phrase, I have to giggle because I'm like, but those old gods are not the gods no more. So you're sending them back to you. Like,
Yes, it's like
do you
once
realize that?
it's like they're so, but it's like I kind of don't blame them that because that's what they've been saying their whole lives.
She's
So
like,
like when they
what's
be
gonna
like, I would have
stop
sent it
me?
to the gods, I'm like, you just sent them to you.
That the whole time she said that in the book, I was like, but
And
they're
also,
not
I'm like, do the other people realize that all of y'all are now the gods?
no,
Because no one said anything,
no, they don't
so they don't know.
they don't know.
But
But it
yeah, again,
cracks me up whenever she
also
would say that.
this was another I love Jack moment because remember this like the second it's like the second time Jack been like, babe, I got it, and immediately thrown hands.
I know.
I really just
Because
like
I feel
him.
like
I was like,
Jack can see how overwhelmed Brandy actually is. And so he's
yes,
like, I'm gonna do what I need to do to support her as much as I can. And if I need to, slap some people around and potentially kill a few people, I'm good. I can do that.
yeah.
Take some
It
things
just
off her
again,
plate.
I was just like that part of the book when I tell you open mouth cackle where he beat the snot out of old dude.
I mean, the part that really had me scratching my head is when Russ had to process the fact that they really wanted to kill him,
Yeah.
but didn't. And Russ was like, "Wait, you were really gonna kill him?" And it's like, "What?
No, no, no.
What?"
Remember, he didn't even ask the question. Brandy answered the question that was in his head.
Yes.
Like she was like, no, I would have absolutely killed him.
And
And
he
I
was
was
like,
like,
and he was shook by that. And I'm like, "Why are you shaken by this news?" Like,
but it was like, sir, you watched Jack beat the tar out of your brother. And Jack is the nicer one of the two. Jack left that man on the ground, beaten up, bloody in his own pee.
yes.
That's literally like this much above death. So, like,
What were
what did you think, Russ?
you think?
Like,
And he's connecting. He's finally like connecting, like,
yeah,
oh,
it's the fact that is like that connected for you after Jack beat him to a pulp. That didn't click for you when it happened,
that would have
knowing what Brandy
me
is.
when my siblings showed up. I would have been like, I really wish you had sent me a text because I would have told you not to come.
Like, don't y'all got communicators? Because I'd have been like, bro, disappear. Do not
Continue
show your face.
be on the run for your life because this is not.
Go talk to Tara and see if she can make you disappear. What? Like, why are you here?
Like, you
and
need
then for
to
him
go
to show up
witness.
like basically like, hi, I'm Zuko, baby.
You need to go into witness protection. Like, there's no life for you here. Like,
yeah, I was like, there is a level of delusion. Well, actually, there's a level of delusion between the brothers, both of them.
100%.
Because the fact that Russ thought that he wasn't gonna die,
I know,
crazy, and then him thinking he could roll into Brandy's domain and think that it was gonna be cool. I'm just like, I was like, y'all gotta stop. Najee, him, Russ, all of them acting like what they did, like they acknowledged that what they did was like the ultimate, like worst thing you could do to Brandy. They acknowledge that and then also expect Brandy to give grace.
Yeah.
How? Why?
They always do. You know what it is? I almost feel like because Brandy is so congenial and like her descriptor, like when she's described her physicality, she's obviously very beautiful. And I always think about how men underestimate beautiful women all the time.
Yes.
And they always underestimate how absolutely ruthless she truly is because of her outward appearance, and her overall general persona is pretty chill. And yeah, she can be harsh and brash at times, but overall, she's pretty easygoing. And so they always underestimate her. And then they show up and then she's like literally gutting people and feeding them to her beasts. And it's like,
yeah, I was like, you have the name, the Queen's Blade. You were known as the vessel of Freya. Killing people was second nature to you, and people still try you.
They do.
What?
I know.
I was like, okay, both of y'all. I was like, Russ, sweetie, get it together. Because I don't think you realize you already tried it in book 1. You could still die in book 2.
Oh, 100%.
And you're somebody I wouldn't even bat an eye if you died. So I would be like, well, birds of a feather, brothers together. Like, I don't know, die together, I guess. Because, yeah, I was just like, baby, this is
not brothers together, die together.
Now my sister calling me in the middle of the discussion. You can still hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay, I was like, dang.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Could you not hear me before?
No, it clicked out for a second because my sister tried to FaceTime me, so it just...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My sound was out for a second, so I just wanted to make sure that it's back.
Yep, we're good. So we can now talk about Remy and... Well, because this is the part where Noble and Sal basically like video conference them. And then after that conversation is when Remy and Brandy have that conversation.
So Remy kind of pissed me off when she was just like, I'm disappointed. You're a god. You're supposed to care more. You're supposed to. And it's like, you don't know what she's been through. You may know from an outsider's perspective, and because you're supposed to be serving her in her domain, and like Zuriel literally saved you to serve her, however you may feel about that. But you have no idea what she has experienced and what has made her this way. And you just come in with your disappointments and, oh, but you're a god and you're supposed to love and care and you're supposed to want to save and you're supposed, like, she pissed me off. And I was rooting for her character until that moment. And then I was just like, I'm done.
I think I look at it from two different ways. So I know that the previous god that they served was actually like kind.
Yes.
And so they view gods in a reverence that Brandy and them no longer have.
That's true.
So it's like, yeah, Brandy is a god, but like Brandy has been scarred by everyone, god and human alike.
Yes.
So it's like you want her to take on this godly aspect, but like ignoring the humanity that Brandy still has. Is like, yes, technically Brandy was never human. Cool. But like Brandy's been on this earth her whole 19 years, and she's been just going through. And I was like, I understand that you want to kind of wonder if Brandy has a conscience, but
I guess I just
like
hate
I'm not completely 1000% annoyed with Remy. I just don't
assumptions.
understand where the compassion is.
I hate assumptions, and I think I would have. Well, her character is very like brash and very like Remy's character is very like, you know, like she's gonna say what she thinks and she's not pulling any punches, and I appreciate that about her. But I just feel like that is a prime example of not assuming things and like asking more questions before you're just like, I'm disappointed. It's
Well, she was given side eyes since Jack beat the snot out of Shion. So it was like she doesn't agree with anything that they're doing. And it's just
no, she
like,
does. And I get it. Like her experience of gods is different, right? Because she came from a realm where the gods were like godlike in the sense that they were compassionate and they cared about their children and they were kind. Da, 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 da. But it's like you're in a new realm now,
right.
honey. Like you don't know. And
Yeah, I really wanted to be like, not you in Brandy's domain telling Brandy what she should and should not be doing.
like you've been in a little bubble in Brandy's domain. You have not interacted with any of the other gods. You haven't even interacted with any of the other like realms within this world. So you have no or kingdoms within, you know, like the other gods' domains. You haven't interacted
Right.
with any other domains. You have just been in this little bubble. So I don't know. She pissed me off. Long story short.
Long story short, not a fan is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, I started off a fan. Now I guess I'm not all the way not a fan. I'm just indifferent. I'm like, okay, Remy, whatever.
I just was like, you know what? I want to know the dynamic that they have in book 3. I'm just like, meh, meh. Oh my God, I forgot about this line. Okay, so it says, can we talk about Noble and Pine? That warm bodies line gets me every time. I think Pine is more noble than Noble can handle.
Yes. He met himself. He met himself. He
like
met himself and he is shook. He's just like, wait,
because
outnobling me. Like, what's going on?
Pine, like, I know Pine had one of that disrespectful moments in the previous chapters, whatever, but I still love Pine because she really operates in this. I do not truly care.
No.
I'm just gonna do what I do. And Pine over here I mean, the way that she was basically just like,
Pine is a Sagittarius to me.
she has to be a Sagittarius.
Doesn't care.
Basically told that man, you could have been anyone, is basically what she told that man. You could have been anyone and I would have been okay. I was like,
damn.
Not her outnobling Noble.
I know. That was my favorite part about it. I was like, and he didn't know how to take it, right? He was just like,
I genuinely loved it because it was like, it's very clear. They've made it known. Like, it's clearly they're very attracted to each other, like all that stuff. But it was really just like Pine. I feel like he's been like up here in his mind, and Pine was basically like, come back to reality. You're just a walking penis.
He definitely met his match with Pine.
I love it.
It's like he met the female version of himself, and he doesn't know how to take it because he's not used to someone being so indifferent to him and dismissive of him and just being like, okay, yeah.
Like acknowledge him. Like, what about me? And she was basically just like, oh yeah, you're here. And then like after he gave her attention first, then it was like, oh, I'll talk to you now that you've given me attention. And I'm like, oh, she's got that poor boy shook. I love it. I love Pine.
It's nice to see Noble kind of off his, his usual route. Like he's shaken, he's off course. Like he, you know, it's nice to see because we don't usually see that. We see that the opposite. We see Noble, you know, terrorizing poor Sarah or some other.
Not only like again, I was mad at Noble for like a second, but he's still back in my good corner. But the scene with him and Grace and Sarah will live in my head rent free forever because Grace clocked Sarah so clearly, and he went right along with it.
He
I
did.
was like, we have to have conversations about
with that scene. I was more like, Noble, I know that you were just gonna stick your little peen and everything, but I'm gonna need you to have some standards and some loyalty here. Just no.
He said, loyalty, I only have loyalty to Brandy. All of them have made it very clear. They do not care about other people. Brandy is it. Like, that's it. Like, he's like, I'm going to continue to be a terror. Like, I don't know what sign Noble would be.
Yeah,
if you think you know, leave a comment. But like, just it's like I don't expect him to change much in book 3.
No,
it's pretty cemented, like how Noble operates.
I'm okay with him. Like
I'm okay with it.
It makes me laugh. He absolutely is a menace, but that's part of his charm, right? Like,
yeah,
he is a better friend to have than a romantic partner, period. Because he doesn't do it.
That is true. Because friend-wise, he's on it.
Mm-hmm.
Noble gives cancer.
Really?
Oh my gosh,
all like lovey and emotional. What's the stereotype?
So we have Noble as a Cancer and then Noble as a Scorpio. That is funny.
I feel like Scorpio is more accurate because I feel like Cancers are like lover boys.
Oh.
You know? And he's a lover boy too, but not in the way that I would typically think.
Yeah, about to say, I don't really label him as a lover boy.
Yeah, he's not. Noble's for the streets in the most
not Noble is for the streets, but Noble put himself on that street. So it's valid.
Respectfully.
Yeah, no. Noble is
a choice.
At this point, we conclude that Noble is Noble.
So let's move forward to them finally coming up with the
plan. We are at chapter 19.
Yes.
I will say that I actually really like this chapter in the sense of like, you know, we talked about how Sarah might be like coming into the realization that she's a god. Like, this is the part for Brandy, because remember, she had already had the conversation with Royal, where Royal was like, why are you doing all this stuff? You are the god. You do not have to do what other people are saying. Like, why are you still doing this? And I really like that scene, but I love the fact that even in the bar, Royal's like yelling at her from across the room, like, remember what we talked about, sis? Yes. You actually can do whatever you want. Like, you can handle things however you want to handle them. You can literally just walk away. You could do whatever you want to do. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, dang, Freya, if you would have actually treated Noble or Royal, like, not reincarnated him over and over again, he probably would have been a nice friend to you in his first life.
Not in his first life. Well, I think that's what it is. I think he was a good friend to her in his first life. And then instead of just letting him, and you know what, reincarnating him 2 to 3 times, understandable, right? Like, everybody wants their best friend with them, but a million times for you.
The issue still to this day is the fact that she reincarnated him with his memories. That is the unforgivable part. It's the memories.
That's horrible.
Because I think about that all the time. I'm like, so Royal is technically Noble's older brother, but he's also Freya's first being.
Yes. Like, biologically and physically in this life, he is Noble's older brother, but his soul is not Noble's older brother.
Yeah.
Which is got to be torturous.
That's got to be so bad for him. But again, the way that he just naturally and comfortably just becomes, honestly, one of Brandy's confidants. I was like, I really like Royal's character in this. I like that he's literally become like almost, I'm not going to say a Jiminy Cricket because he's not telling her do right from wrong, but he's basically like another one of the ones of like, hey, you're you don't belong to anybody. Like, yes, everybody is dependent on you and everybody's this, but like you have the power. You are the power. And I was like,
Yeah. I
sometimes
feel like
you just got to get reminded.
absolutely. And I feel like between Royal and Jack, she's getting the support that she needs to make a decision that she wants to make, because it's even talked about, like, Zuriel has told her what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Freya's told what she wanted. Um, Azine has said what he wanted.
True. I forgot about him. That
Then
psychopath.
you have the chatter of the group, and it's like she felt like she had to make a choice between all of those. And so it was nice for Royal and Jack to step in and be like, what do you want to do?
Yeah. And then
Like,
I also love that she was like, we're shadows. So let's do what shadows do. Listen, I want you to know, imagine this as the animated scene, right? And they're at the bar and they have that, they're talking, and Noble and Talon and thing, they're like, what are we gonna do? And she's like, I really hate that y'all all keep looking at me for what to do. And then Royal says his little line, and then she sits there and thinking, and then she goes, we're shadows. We're just gonna
yeah,
do what we do. When I tell you in my mind visually, I was like, it's about to go down. Because what are shadows known for doing? The whole
slaughtering.
thing we know for shadows to do, killing folks.
I
I was
know.
like,
I didn't expect what I expected, but in chapter expect
we
what I
we are
what?
still of us. I know you're dying to get there,
Did
but
not expect what happened. But in chapter
in
19,
chapter 19,
we get the scene with
we
Jack.
go back to Sarah.
Oh, I was just gonna talk
Oh,
about the
yeah, I
scene
forgot.
with Jack and Brandy.
No, we go back. We're at Jack and Brandy's moments.
That was really cute.
Again, I would have loved to have a moment where we got to like have, because Jack is not a person of many words
No.
ever. But when he's in the scene, you know he's in the scene. Like his
Yeah.
presence, we're always made aware of his presence, and we are always made aware of like his ability to provide comfort and security to Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
So every time we get a scene where it's just Brandy and Jack, again, still man of very little words, but we also get to have the moments where Brandy gets a chance to actually be vulnerable and express herself in a way that she cannot do with anybody else.
Yeah,
And I'm always, again, I love the scenes with Jack and Brandy. I'm just like, oh,
I
y'all are
know.
cute.
I
But
love the scenes.
y'all really y'all be like, we're going to war, but I'm gonna ravage you tonight. Like,
I know.
okay,
It's
all
cute.
right. That's not how. Yeah, no, I'm a Jack and Brandy stan. I'm scared. Okay, I am scared of book 3 for that very reason. But when we talk about our book 3 predictions, I will put that in there because
I
Lord
have
knows
I have no predictions for book 3. I'm still trying
I
to figure
have
out book
I
2.
have multiple predictions only because I think it's fun to make predictions. But yeah,
Okay, so
we
let
move to
us move
Sarah.
on to oh yeah, so Sarah kind of finally aces her dance, and Noble actually notices and
He
cares.
dances with her. He helps her.
That was a cute little moment. I'm not gonna lie. I don't actually want them to end up together, and I don't think they will, because Noble has made it very clear that he is not interested. But I thought
Yes,
this
I
was
need to
cute.
make it clear that I do not want them to get together at all. Like we said earlier, Noble is so much of a better friend than a lover.
Yes.
I don't want him to change for her. I don't want any of that to happen. I want Sarah to finally stand up and pick someone who actually wants her.
Agreed.
I do not want it to be one of those, oh my gosh, he finally, no. Mm-mm. A man
Yeah.
can only say, I don't want you, but the 8 million times that he said it in this book.
Yes.
I don't
Agreed.
want to see any romantic anything between Noble and Sarah. And I like the fact, because remember when they were walking up the stairs and she was like, it's me and him alone. I could ask him to come into my room. I was like, Sarah, girl, what are you doing?
It was at this
Because what
moment.
Noble is not going to do is say no to some poon. He's going to ravage you, leave you in there cross-eyed like he did in the bathroom in the first book. And then you're going to be sitting here mad that he still don't want you. Sarah, please.
I know. It was in that moment that I was starting to lose my admiration, but then she was like, "No, I am not going to do that." And I was like,
That
"Oh,"
part, I was just like, thank
I was like, "I see progress, and I do believe that you can be delivered from noble I believe that this can be you can be cured."
You said, and I can believe she can be delivered, not delivered.
She needs to be delivered because
You would have thought that they had already slept together the way that you not only would you thought that they slept together, you'd have thought that Noble and her had been dating. He like love bombed her or something crazy, and then like switched into this different person. The way that she acts, and you're like, baby, has no man ever like winked at you or something? Because
Mm,
the
mm,
bathroom scene was, a lot for you, but like in terms of like things that could have happened, it was not
like,
that much. So what is going on?
I just feel like Sarah has never felt attraction to anyone because even that guy that she was playing in the beginning of book 1, she didn't really want him. She wanted the security that he was offering. And so I don't think she's actually ever met someone that she actually wanted before. And
Right.
so 'cause everyone has had that experience where they have had like their puppy love, or they have had at least one person they've met that they're just have so attracted to. But I don't think
True.
that's ever happened to her. And so I think that it finally happens and she doesn't know how
Yeah,
to
because the Kyle, is that his name? Kyle was just for
smile.
security. She saw Kyle as a man with prominence in the domain that she was in, and she knew that getting with him would offer her and her brother protection. There was not
Yep.
attraction, that was survival.
Yes.
So but when she told herself no, I was like, I still am keeping all of my expectations for Sarah at 0,
Look,
but I'm
I
happy for her.
want better for her. Stand up, Sarah. And she's on her
Listen,
way. She's on her way. She did not invite him to her room. She said, "Nope, I'm going to bed." I was like, "Oh, thank God."
I was just like, whew, we've come a long way, Sarah.
I
We've
know.
come a long way. You have given me more, oh my God, please, girl moments than you have of, oh my God, Sarah, good job. It's like she gave me 2. I got 2 moments where I was like, good job, Sarah, good job. All the other times in this book, I was just like, can I go to Brandy's chapter now? She's getting on my nerves.
Oh my God.
Yeah, everybody in the comments is like, you're being very positive right now.
I'm trying because I need her to get better. I don't wanna read another book of from her point of view that much where she is still the same, because I think I've hit my, like, peak of hating a character, and now I need that peak to come down the other side, and I'm not saying I'm gonna start loving her, but I just need some character development, and I need
You
some change.
want her in a tolerable state.
And if she's gonna stay the same, then I
Kill her.
want I want less of her point of view.
I want her dead,
You
actually.
want her dead.
Listen, she served her purpose already.
Dead.
She has served her purpose already.
Brittany.
I know. It's terrible. But
Not
like
you.
that's how I feel, because I was like, if you're not gonna learn, what are you here for? You're just holding everybody back.
Brittany. Wow.
I
Well,
know.
I don't wish her death. At least not right now. There were some moments.
Not right now. There were moments in the book where I was like, girl, you're getting on my nerves.
There were
I
moments where if Tiki had accidentally eaten her and was like starved, and we can't starve the beasts, I wouldn't have been mad. But
I'm so mad you were okay with her being eaten by a shader, but what I said was too much.
but listen, that is nourishment. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's serving a purpose.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, because I don't think she can survive if she acts the way that she's been acting. Like, she's given us some signs that like she's getting it together. So I'm like, I hope that continues, because girl, I don't think she can survive if she doesn't.
Oh
Like,
no,
I just don't. Like,
I mean, if she dies, I won't be shocked, right? Because she's Sarah. But I don't want her to die. I definitely want her character to just, I don't know. I don't really know, because I also don't know if it's realistic for her to all of a sudden become this like strong, badass person. Like,
Again,
I
that
just
that
don't
part
know.
too.
I don't think that's realistic with how like her actual character and who she is as a person. I don't think that that's possible. In well,
I don't okay, so I don't need her to be
well,
like this
I
super
don't think
crazy badass. I
yeah.
just need her to be useful.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Cuz like technically she's being used in this book, and like at first I was really worried that she was going to ruin their whole plan. Like I thought, because the way that she was doing in the beginning, I was like, she about to ruin everything. It's about to be
Yeah.
ruined because she is about to ruin this only chance we get.
I
And
will
then,
also say, like, she also can't be a queen. Like, in what world would she be successful? I mean, yes, we see like when we move into chapter 20 and we see like it's finally the opening ceremony.
yeah,
And once we get past like the first part, which she surprisingly does well with, because Russ kind of shows up to be her dance partner, and she starts mingling with people. And at first, people are like avoiding her because she's not the favorite and people don't want to rock the boat. But she does have that really positive conversation with that business owner that goes really well. And that
the
turns out that
the capitalist business owner. Yep, she did. She did
and
good.
then it turns out that that business owner has a lot of clout, and so then people started paying attention to her and wanting to talk to her. So in that sense, I was like, okay, she's doing well, but in what world would Sarah be a successful queen at this point in her life, in her character development, who she is as a person? Like,
Thank you.
let's not delude ourselves. And I mean, we know she's in a bid for the queendom, but God forbid she actually won that bid. Like,
That's what I was saying. I was like, I get that we need her for the opening ceremony, but like, we're not actually trying to get Sarah on the throne, are we?
yeah, it's kind of like this is a diversionary tactic, right?
Like, this is just because Brandy needs more time with the rebels, right? Like,
We're not
because
seeing it.
we're not there, we're nowhere
We're
near
not-
that. She just started caring about the open ceremony 2 days ago.
And she only started caring because she realized that if she failed, she would die. Like,
That part, it was still like Sarah is still 1000% on Sarah preservation.
yeah.
So I'm like,
It's
we
almost
shall
like
see.
I feel like Sarah is like when those kings would go into battle and they would
Mhm.
put all of like the soldiers they didn't care about, like all the peasants that they recruited to be in the army, they would put them in the front
Yeah.
because they knew they were going to die and they didn't care. They just needed them to like survive long enough so they could breach the castle walls and shit like that. Like they didn't
Yeah.
actually think that they were going to survive the battle, but they just needed enough of them to be like a distraction buffer, like time waster for the
Right.
actual real fighters to get it. Like
Yeah.
that's how I see Sarah. Like you are the diversionary tactic. You are supposed to distract
She
everybody
is.
long enough so that the real plan can unfold. You're not actually supposed to win the bid for the queendom because ain't no way you could be queen. Ain't no way.
So, are we done with our Sarah talk? Because it's now time for my favorite part, and it's all Brandy. Are we here? Are we ready? Because
How did you feel when those tower doors burst open?
I need you guys to understand that I am a very visual person. So if you're able to paint a picture where I am watching a fully animated, because I believe this cannot be a live action, this has to be animated so that we can get everything that this chapter describes. It has to be animated because it would cost too much money to do it CGI. Like it needs to be like the same the same love and attention that they gave to Into the Spider-Verse. this is what I'm expecting for this chapter, because in fact, they can even do it in watercolor illustration, because she busts through the door. You know, hold on. Let me just read. I just need to read the description of her and Jack, because as I was reading it, I was like, yes!
Oh my gosh, please read it.
I was like, you guys, this is amazing. Okay, hold on. Where is the part that says, well, she came out in her freakum dress? It says, she was breathtaking as she stood in a strapless cocktail dress that was blacker than a shader's fur. It clung to her curves, revealing her long, toned legs. Her feet were clad in black stilettos. Her thick hair was twisted down into neat knots. Jack stood to her left, dressed in a matching three-piece suit with his short locks twisted back. They were easily the most stunning people in the room and had the confidence to match. Can you imagine?
I can't.
Because I don't know who would play either one of these people. Could you imagine?
No. I mean, showing up in black tie attire to slaughter people is wild. And we know why she showed up like that. Like, we get to see the behind the scenes of what happened prior to this scene shortly, to see that she actually got the dress from Grace, but still, showing up in
Jack. That means, remember how we said we needed like something to be an unhinged tweet? That what you just said, like them showing up in formal attire to slaughter people is wild. That is a perfect unhinged tweet. But I was like, these two people walked in here like they just came off the runway.
But can I just say that naive little me, I was so naive before chapter 20. Can I just say that I still did not think that they were going to do any of it. Like, I was just like,
I knew it was gonna go down, but I thought that like Brandy was gonna like take off her heel and like bust somebody in the forehead with her heel.
Yes.
I was thinking like, oh, they about to fight. That's why she got that split. She needs access.
I thought she was gonna show like her goddess powers, and it was gonna be revealed that she was a god, and they were all gonna be like, oh my god. And I didn't know exactly what would happen from there. But the fact that she showed up and she confronted the queen like straight up and was like, what you're not about to do is sabotage this bid for the queendom like you sabotaged the last one. And the queen was all like, who do you think you are? And she was like, you know who I am. Like, I was your blade. Like, let's not act and pretend like you don't know who I am. You know exactly who I am. And the queen was like, you're a hired dog that needs to be put down, blah, blah, blah. Ooh. And then like, just like any other arrogant, egotistical queen that overestimates themselves, they're like, guards. I was like, you couldn't think of something better to say? She was like, guards. And then the guards like rush Brandy and crew. And unfortunately, those are the guards that were in the battlefield. So they are don't actually want to attack Brandy because they see the shaders. And they're
no, they did not see the shaders, because the shaders came in like two bodyguards.
That's right. They came in
next to her. That's the part that made me scream, because I was wondering why we needed to know that they had shapeshifted out of Freya's domain, because that was such a random thing to bring up that I was like, true. Huh, why do we need to know that? And then I screamed. I was like, oh my God.
I know.
For them to walk through the doors with Brandy as her bodyguard.
They came in disguise. And
with sunglasses.
The guards are still, I picture like a Men in Black type aesthetic.
Yes. That's what I picture for Tiki. That's what I imagine. I imagine they came in with the suits and the sunglasses, and they look big and bulky.
Yes.
But they look human.
But they did say that the guards were kind of like, I don't know about this, but they still tried to, be guards. And it didn't work, because I believe that is when the shaders shape-shifted into their true forms. And that was a sad day.
She said, Tiki, Leah, I think she said devour them or something.
Yes.
And the moment that I realized that it was done was when she responded back, as you wish, tiny human. And I was
Yes.
like, and then it was like a grin spread across it. I was like,
Yes.
wait, imagine that in an animated form. Imagine them shifting. But I was
What
like,
I
this.
saw in my mind is as they began to shift, the clothes just like burst off, like ripped, like you just saw pieces of clothing just flying,
You know
and then
what?
you saw
I keep
all
forgetting that I don't have you watching action anime, because that is not how it would go.
really?
It would have been a slow reveal, because usually in like anime and stuff, when the fighting scene like that, when you're realizing you're fighting a monster, the morph that they go into to reveal themselves is slow. You usually see it like in the shadow of
Yeah.
the creature first, and then it like goes to their face as they fully morph, and they
Oh.
grow bigger, and the guards would literally be like this, like as the creature is shifting. Like I have a whole visual in my head
Oh
of
my
how
god.
the scene looks, because I cheered. It was such a happy. This is why I said I might have a problem, because the elation that I felt at this scene,
You're
I
probably
was
like
like,
reading it. Okay. So this is Brittany reading the scene. This is me reading the
no
scene.
lie, I was like this. I was like, yes, this is great.
Meanwhile, I'm like,
Oh yeah, no, I was like, eat them all.
all right, we got to keep going because we're also supposed to talk about the whole book. So we got to speed up a little bit, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
So that happens. And then the queen is still not trying to back down. I don't even remember her exact words. In
Well,
this part,
Brandy told them to save two of the soldiers first. That's the first. Brandy proceeded to then disrespect the queen in multiple ways. The first was she told them to save the two soldiers and was like, "Do you want to serve me or you want to serve her?" And they was, quickly said, "No, we're good. We're gonna come to your side."
we're switching.
Then,
Sorry.
yeah, she
You
was
the one
like,
with the monsters. We're switching.
I was just like, wow. Then after there's like, because mind you, this is in a place where all these super fancy people are all dressed up. They're like horrified. They said all they smelled at this point was like piss, vomit, and shit.
Well, didn't it say the people started screaming and they were like trying to find an exit, but they're at the top, they're like the tippy top of the tower, and there's nowhere to go.
No. Once they started ripping heads and splitting bodies, then that also became smells of vomit and excrements and everything.
Didn't it say that in order to get up there, you had to have like special access to get up there, and then you had to have like those hover things that people traveled in to get up there? Like
We
it wasn't
we
easy.
also established that Mara was the person that had to handle that, I think.
Handle what?
Remember how they said Mara was the person, like if Brandy was the blade, Mara was the shield?
Oh no, I was talking about like I'm talking about how high up they were.
Yeah, you had to have a certain security clearance and passes and all that other stuff to get up there.
Mara is the one that's like in charge of security in that level. But I was thinking more of like the people that got up there because obviously, whoever was in charge of getting the people up there were able to get them up there, but they can't leave on their own, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Which, could not imagine being a spectator to that. I would have just had to fall and play dead.
I would never be in a room that I couldn't leave. Like, that just doesn't sound like a good idea. Like, I would never willingly go into a room where I couldn't just choose to leave on my own. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, they can't leave on their own. They have to have the special code or whatever the heck to get out of there. And so I was just like, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Anywho's, yes, the pods, Ben. I was like, that's just a security breach for me. Like, I would look at that and I'd be like, I'm not going to that party because I
remember they don't see them. They weren't seeing themselves as somebody that could be touched.
That's true.
Either. So this is the first time they've ever been tested, tried, or anything like that. Because at this point, Leia is still running her mouth.
Yes.
Even after all that, she still kept running her mouth. So
she's
Brandy
like, I'm the queen of this queendom. And
Brandy was like, you cheated. 22 years ago, you cheated.
I love this scene.
And now you need to pay.
I love this scene because even Brandy's like, kind of, I think she had a line where she's just like, I hate doing things like this and revealing stuff like this, and this is annoying, but it must be done. And then she starts talking about how I know about your plots and I know about this, and the people of the kingdom are completely unaware of this information. So they're like,
Mhm.
oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah,
So I can,
because she kept saying, "You don't have proof," and then she was like, "I know Glenn," and I was like,
I was like, oh, I can only imagine the scene, because what I see is, I'm sure some people have thrown up. There's body parts over
and
all over
bodily
the room.
fluids
There's
everywhere.
there's blood. There's probably some people crying, some people screaming, some people desperately looking for an exit.
It's
Then you
also the
have the
smells.
people who have like a freeze response when stuff like this happens. So they're just frozen, watching it all go down in complete horror. Then
Sarah.
you have the consorts who are probably like, what do we do? Like, we're supposed to protect our queen, but oh my God, like there's monsters here. So they're probably like, then you have the princesses themselves who are like probably freaking out. So it's like, I just saw this whole scene in my mind of like all of these various things happening at the same time. And I'm gonna let you tell the rest of it because I'm traumatized. This
I'm
part
not
really
I
had
am not traumatized.
shaken to my core. Like, I still can't believe this happened. Like, I'm still shook. It took me days to process this. Like, I was just like,
I
did
need
that
to
happen?
preface this by saying I read a lot of war, violent fantasy, adult fantasies. So I wasn't necessarily like shook in like a, oh my God. It was more so like I didn't know that we were gonna get this violent, but I love it.
The
And
way that it happened though was no warning. It was so quick. And I was just like,
because she said that they're gonna act as shadows do. Shadows don't give warnings before they do what they need to do. So when she was
and
like, "You're lying," she was like, "Do you not want to take credit for this?" She's like, "It needs to be fair." And she's like the queen. This is the part that was killing me. The queen was running her mouth the whole time. Like she was like, "You're not gonna do nothing. It's been fair. What you want the throne for yourself?" Running her mouth. And then Randy said, "Bring me your
well,
daughters."
didn't she say, I'm gonna give you a chance to like abdicate or whatever, or step down or
Yep.
whatever it
She
was?
said, she said, to make this fair, your only option is to abdicate, basically. And Queen still running her mouth, still think, because at no point, Brandy has not revealed her power yet
No.
at this point.
She's just using force and the shaders.
Yes. So
She's
then,
using her like she's using her skills that she learned as the Queen's Blade
yes.
and as a shadow. And the only thing that is the element of surprise is the shaders, because most people think the shaders are like creatures of legend. Most people have never seen a shader. Like they haven't seen these creatures like this in action up close and personal. So it's like something out of your nightmares, right? So that right now, that's like the only thing that she really has that's like showing anything outside of who she is.
Yep, but Leia keeps talking, and this is when Brandy decides that I guess we're gonna call this Brandy's God form. Like she basically evolved, like
It was so harsh.
She went Super Saiyan 4 on us, and all of a
She
sudden she's like
didn't
in
her
the
outfit change?
air.
Didn't her
Yeah,
outfit change?
that's what I'm saying. Not to I'm like, this is such anime nods.
You
There's
should
so
read
many
that
anime
part.
nods. There's so many anime nods.
You should
The
read that.
transformation scene that Brandy does, like,
Wait,
what is it? I forgot what she changes into. Hold on. I took notes. No, yeah, her dress went from the ball gown to a silk dress, which is
yes.
very much giving Storm. It's very
It
much giving
is.
Aurora Monroe, but with green lightning. It's
Yes.
giving so many things. So she turns into her god form where she's basically like hovering in the air and then tells
Also,
the queen,
wait,
get off
wait.
the throne.
Didn't it also said that her like features changed and she like
Oh, this.
yes.
Yeah, I forgot I got a bookmark with the book. Yeah, it said that her features changed. Like she appeared older.
Yes.
The roundness of her youth was gone. Her hair that had been twisted was freed, so she was in full fro. She had the braid in the front, like, and then yeah,
Yep.
she went to full god form and then used her god voice
Yes.
on the queen and told her to get out of her throne. And I was like, imagine having this whole argument what you thought was your shadow. She has a bad bitch transformation in the air and then tells you to get off her throne. And then all that junk you just talked is mute because you can't talk. Only thing you can do is get up and get off the throne like she told you to do.
In front of all of your royal subjects at that. This isn't even in private. This is in front of.
This is all in front of everyone. And then she's basically like, so you do realize, so like if I wanted it, I could have took it at any time, but I don't want it. Like, but you're going to get up. You have a choice. She was like, she's like, you need to consider your words. Basically, she said, this is your only option. You should consider your next words with care. And this girl decided
the queen to give
a monologue
at this point, because I'm so sorry, but if someone busted up into my throne room with monsters that ate my guards, I'm gonna tread lightly. Like if my blade, and I know how my training system is, and they've been working for me all these years and they've been killing people successfully, turned against me, I would tread lightly. But it's like the hubris and the ego is out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control.
She had I know she was scared, but for some reason she really thought that she could keep running her mouth. And I was like, this woman has shown you multiple times in this room right now why this is not the battle you want to fight.
Right.
Give up. And the other thing is Brandy has given her multiple chances at this point, and she's still running her mouth. And so
I'm traumatized.
At this point,
I am traumatized
because I do remember her consorts start running their mouth. Because one of the consorts was like, "What are you doing? Like, what is wrong with these other ones? Like, you're the queen of this realm." Da 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 da. And I was
like, it's a perfect example of like in the friend group.
There's did y'all not watch the same thing?
It's a perfect example of like
this one. Friend group, thank you.
There's one friend who has sense and is like, "Oh my god," and then the other friend is like gassing you up to make like the biggest mistake of your life. And it's like, no.
Yeah, he was like, what are we doing? Wait, pause. Let's think about this. And the other ones are just running their mouth. And at this point, Randy's like, you're going to choose your pride? You're not going to back. All right, bring the daughters. And of course, fine-ass Jack in his three-piece suit brings over the daughters. And when I tell you, my mouth dropped because I was like, wait.
And you know what? I could see it so clearly because it said the daughters were scared and they were crying and hugging each other. And I'm just like, this is so sad because they didn't do anything. They were just born, into the system. And this really broke my heart. Like, this killed me to my core.
This sound terrible. This brought me immense level of satisfaction because, again, Brandy is a god. You test a god, there are major consequences.
I know.
She cheated, she lied, she murdered, she did all this stuff. It's only fair that she gets what she reaps. And Brandy gave her multiple chances.
It's a prime example of when people say that like your karma might miss you, but it might hit your kids.
Oh my gosh.
The sins of the father being visited upon the children. Like, I thought of all of those things during the scene because I was just like, you thought you got away with so much when you had your sister killed when she was supposed to be the rightful queen, and you've been doing all these shady things for all this time. But your karma may have missed you, but it's about to hit your kids and bounce back and ricochet and finally hit you, and that is really unfortunate.
Not to mention, by doing this, she eliminates another issue that they had, which was the fact that her daughters were the favorites and thus making it difficult for Sarah. Yes. So there was a strategy to this. And also like it makes a huge statement, but I will say the fact that the shaders did not eat all of them and only took off part of their body. I was like,
I saw it in my mind and I literally felt faint. I was like,
I did not.
I can only imagine their heads just like rolling to the ground. Like because I don't think they ate their heads, right? They just snapped them off.
No. They ate this part of their body and the rest of their body just.
Oh, they ate the heads?
Yeah, hold on. I'll find it. Yeah, it says Tiki and Leah lunge forward, cleaving the heads of both daughters from their necks.
But it just says cleaving. It doesn't say they ate them.
Ma'am, I know this is difficult to process, but you think they spit it out
Yes,
after?
I think they just spit them off.
Ma'am, it says Jack helps her over the mess of corpses as if it were an inconvenient puddle in the middle of the street. Like, ma'am, them heads was gone. I need you to accept that.
I mean, honestly, that's probably better visual than heads just being there on the ground.
Wait, this whole time you thought that they like took their heads off and spit the heads back out of the
like just like bit, you know, and then the heads just rolled off.
Oh my god!
And we're just like there staring at everybody.
Whoo, man!
Worst visual.
You really had a different experience than I did. I was in my chair just elated. I was like, "This is the best thing ever." I could not have imagined this book turning like this, but we're here and I love it. Oh, wait, my favorite part. For the crime of attempting to kill Jack and pissing me off, she sticks her hand into that man's chest.
Yes.
And pulls out his heart.
Yes.
In some Mortal Kombat finish him ass kind of move.
This part brought me so much joy and happiness because I freaking hated that character.
I thought we were gonna have to wait till book 3 for that particular moment. But the fact that she was basically like, well, since I'm here and you're here.
Well, she told him at the battlefield, she said, I'm gonna kill you soon. I won't kill you now.
I do like I love the foreshadowing, but like I knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
I imagined that we were going to get this level of satisfaction. So like, because while I still love the scene, I was still shocked that the daughters had to die by beheading of a shader. And that then literally within the next paragraph, it's like, oh, Bert, did you think I forgot you?
I know. Like, that was my favorite part. And the whole time I could imagine him just shaking in the corner of the room because he knows
wanting to disappear,
that he's next. And like, I see this like in my mind, in the visual, I see him knowing full well that he's not going to leave that room alive and he's just shaking. So when she turned to him, because I can just see her like after the shader's doing with her bidding, I can just see her like slowly turning her head like this and being like,
well, I imagine so like I imagine her looking at Leia and then the daughter, like, so if Leia's over here, the daughters have been bought in this direction so that Leia could see them front, face, and center. And like Brandy is over here still with the shaders. They bite the head off, they fall to the floor, and that's when Jack walks over and elegantly helps his lady step over their bodies. Leia is still in shock because you just watched her daughters die with her bae right next to her, not realizing he was next. And all I can say is Bert could have literally been the only one to die here, but it was your fault. This is all your fault.
The thing is, I feel like he knew he was gonna die.
I feel like she was probably still in shock from watching her daughters die. I don't think it registered for her that what was happening next to her.
Oh no, he knew he was gonna die.
No, Bert. The moment that Brandy walked through that door, I'm fairly 1,000% certain Bert was like, no. Yep. I'm certain. I'm 1,000% certain. But also, Brandy said, consider this your warning. Left that woman alive, killed her favorite consort and her children, left her entire party in disarray, vomit, pee, poop.
Are you going to say my favorite line?
Which one?
Where she's like, now get up off your knees.
It's not that's what I'm saying. I was like, and then to make matters worse, Brandy drops another line and says, it's not befitting for a queen to be on her knees.
My favorite line in the entire series so far. That line had me gagged
to somebody. I was like, bars.
That line was insane. I was just like,
my heart was just so
A
I mean,
cherry
I feel like we've enjoyed this book, and I've enjoyed the book entirely. But chapter 21,
was something.
that
That
was
line
a
was just
whole different experience.
the cherry on the murder cake. I mean, it was
You are
really
still, it's like you still look so traumatized.
I am, like, I feel like oh my god, it was just the visuals. The
Man,
visuals.
the writing was so well done that I got to like it was like I got the visuals in my head as I was reading it, and I was cheering. I know you were traumatized, but I was like, yes, destroy them,
I just
turn
felt
their
bad for the
whole world
daughters.
upside down.
I just felt bad for the daughters because they didn't do anything wrong, and they're just collateral damage, and I know that that's a given when you read a
Yeah.
fantasy. Like, there's so many characters that just end up being collateral damage, and I always feel traumatized whenever I read about their
Um,
deaths. I'm always like, "You were at the wrong place at the
I
wrong
feel
time," or,
nothing.
like, "Your parent was the wrong person," or, like, whatever the case may be, like,
Like, I'm
that's
sorry
so
your
sad.
parents were shit, but you gotta die.
"You
Sorry.
got to go."
But
It was a
because Brandy could have just killed the queen. She could have just, because technically that would have like ended the queendom if she came in and just like killed the queen and killed the potentials. She
I
could have
think it was
technically ended it.
I think it was that place where she didn't wanna destabilize the queendom.
Yeah.
She 'Cause that would be more work for her, and it's so much worse to be alive and to be the reason that so many of your loved ones are dead. So much worse.
Oh yeah, no. Well, because we learned later. We learned in chapter 22 that like there was strategy to what she decided to do. And leaving her alive meant that they were going to spend all their time trying to look for Brandy and less time worried about trying to sabotage Sarah. So I know always a method to her madness, but we
And
entered
that's when we
chapter
find
22
yes.
where she goes back to talk to her daddy. I
Wait,
don't know how to feel about it.
are we gonna talk about the reveal with Grace?
Doesn't it start back? Hold on. Oh wait, yeah, no, because the chapter starts where she goes back to her dad, but it switches immediately to the Queen's Tower the day of the opening ceremony.
Mhm. So this
Yeah.
is when we find out that Grace was Azine's, whatchamacallit, vessel,
Mm-hmm.
and because Grace comes to see her before she executes her whole plan. She's the one who gives her the outfit. She reveals like that she's against the queendom too, and she's also against Azine, but she's his
Yeah,
vessel.
that part. That part. I was like, but she also knew like Azine would only be satisfied. Oh, that was another reason why she couldn't just kill the queen and them right then, because Azine wants entertainment. So if she would have just gone in there and just wiped out everybody, which she very well could have,
Yes,
Azine probably just would have gone through it and just like not kept his end of the deal because he wasn't entertained, which
that's
is
true.
some real sociopathic level
I
behavior.
mean, he's definitely a sociopath.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is when she was like, "I need your help," and Brandy's like, "Okay,
I
tell
love
me
how like she's
something I don't know."
yeah, she was just like, oh look, another one. I was like,
And then
Brandy,
Grace was just kind of like, you're not gonna help me? And Brandy was like, what's in it for me? That was
yeah.
my favorite part. But she was like, what is in it for me? Because I'm
Also,
so tired.
the way that it was just casually mentioned, like, oh yeah, I was made. Azine
Oh,
basically
yes.
like they basically created her
In
in an
another
alternate
timeline.
timeline where he was not punished before him and her mom got together, and then basically pulled her out of that timeline
Yup.
and put her in this timeline. So I was like, time beings also control timelines
I know
of
that
realms.
that part I may have to reread again because I was so lost. I was like, wait a second. What are you saying?
It was a very short moment. Like they didn't dwell on it, but my brain
Yeah.
was immediately like, so not only are there like there are a bunch of different realms that time beings look over, there are also alternate timelines of these same realms.
Yeah.
Like so like Azine didn't get in trouble for just plucking old girl out of her timeline?
Right.
Did that not destroy the other time? Like every other book where it involves timelines, you
Yes.
cannot take people out of it without causing some type of problem.
Of like
Because
ripple effect or
yeah,
something.
variants
Agreed. Yeah.
or what did they call it in Into the Spider-Verse? I forgot what they called it. But like you can't do that without causing some type of problem.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be the time beings are about to be a major part of chapter 3.
I know.
And I said chapter 3, book 3.
Book
But
3. The time beings and the galaxiers. I'm ready.
I am so ready. I need all the explanations now because the way that Chelsea casually dropped that line in the final chapter as like oh, well, this is how I became. No big deal. I was like,
I know. You want to talk about the end?
yeah. I don't know how to feel about the end still.
I mean, I commend Brandy for being like, Azine, Zuriel, welcome to my TED Talk. Like, I just
yes.
where she was like, look, no, we're not doing this. You want something from me, you want something from me. We're just gonna close the gap here. I was like, okay. She has something up her sleeve.
Again,
Because
I really like that she's operating in her own desires now. Plus, she's trying to save she's trying to save her people too.
I know. But that is what let me know that she has a plan that she's keeping hidden from them, because that was an unhinged move. I was like, oh my God.
Okay, yeah. So we're here. Because I was like, oh, okay, Brandy.
Yep.
I'm gonna trust you.
It felt like phase 1 of a plan. You know,
It
it felt
did.
like bring them together and make them believe that y'all are all working together now. Like,
and because she did that, she now has full access to like what was the place that Zarella was in? Like her what is the name of the thing? The place that
I
they
honestly, isn't it just like a void? Like, it's like a,
oh yeah, the void.
yeah.
So like she has full access to the void. She's now going to be learning about like her like who she is and like how she handles her stuff. It's like she's getting more things of what she wants without having like it's like I'm looking forward to seeing if she's going to be successful in playing everybody.
Well, here's the
Because
thing.
again, she's doing this to save Jack.
Well, they can't see her anymore, right? Because she's fully come into her own. So they
Yeah.
have no way of knowing what she's going to do in the future because they can no longer see her future. So that's what
I just
also
know oh my gosh, throat, please.
But that's what also makes me believe that she has a plan, and this is part of that plan.
Yeah. But again, all I remember in my head is that like the gods are inside of the vessels that they chose and they are slowly corrupting them and essentially killing them. So I
The
know
gods are
everything that
dying.
Brandy is doing, her plans are to save Jack because she's made it very clear from the jump. Jack is her number 1, number 2, number 3, number 10 priority.
Yes.
So it's like I don't know what she has planned, but I know that one of the main objectives is to save Jack. That's all I know. I don't know how to feel.
And she also gets
This to be continued left me in a place.
She also gets her name.
Oh my God, I forgot. What was it? Zarya?
I think so.
Or Zari?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's it's Zarie. Kind of like, because at first I was like, so it's Marie, but a Z.
Well, Zuriel named her after himself.
Yeah, so Zuriel and Zari, which is so conceited and hilarious. But then I was like, why does I was like, so Freya named her Brandy, he named her Zuri. And I was like, so the names matter. I'm like, again, there's so much. Plus, keep in mind, we have not heard from the gods since chapter 6 of this book.
Wait, you mean the other gods?
Yeah, the other ones. We have not even heard an inch of Freya.
No, that's right. I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't heard from Freya because the other gods weren't in this book.
Yes.
So
At all.
we have not heard from the other gods since the last chapter of book 1, and we have not heard from Freya since chapter 6 of book 2.
Yeah. So
Good
I
time.
feel like this was I don't know. See, okay, this is my problem. If I look at the endings of the books, I'm actually clearly more obsessed with the ending of book 2 than book 1.
Yes.
But I think book 1 is still my favorite in the series so far.
What?
And this is only after having days of thinking about it. Because if you would have asked me on last Thursday, if I would have said book 2 is my favorite. Book 2 had me on the edge of my seat. Book 2 entered a realm of book 2s and fantasy trilogies that other people need to strive for. But book 1 was such a new concept to me. This was a new world. It introduced me to like a whole new set of characters in terms of female main character fantasy characters. And like, I'm like, when I think about it, I'm like, book 1 might, by a small margin, book 1
Yeah.
still might be my favorite of the 2 so far. Now, I have read book 2 twice already, so I have to read book 1 twice. So I need to read book 2 for the second time before I make my final judgment on which one I like better. But I give this book a solid. I was very happy with this book.
100%. It was a great read. We're very excited to see what happens in book 3. Okay, so we are now at our hour and a half mark. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because we don't want this to be too long. But we're going to wrap it up saying our predictions for book 3. And then we're going to go. And you guys can catch this in the playback once you finally read book 2, if you have not already, or if you just didn't get a chance to watch this live.
Also, if you have predictions for what you think is going to happen in book 3, please leave comments. We love reading comments and predictions. So I'm gonna let you go first, Oshley. What do you have any? If you could come up with at least one prediction for book 3, what do you think is going to happen?
I think that the realm will be destroyed.
Okay.
And I think that Brandy will create a new realm. So I don't know what that looks like. And I think that she will go back and forth between being like a time being and being in her realm in her new world. But I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know how she's gonna get there. But that's my overall arching prediction. Not Ben.
I was like,
Log off, Ben.
Book 3 equals destruction. So I think emotionally we are going to have a time in book 3. I don't believe everybody's going to survive to the end. And I'm including the ones that are vessels of the gods in this as well. I cannot predict which one is going to go because
I think they're all going to go.
You think they're all going to go? I don't know. I see that one would require me to have more thought. I don't think that they're all going to. I don't think everybody's making it. Characters like Pine, I don't think that she's going to make it.
She was the one I also think I was like, they're all gonna go. I thought Pine because I was like,
Well, it's more so like because I feel like the queen, we know that the queen is searching for them, and this is when they realize like how many shadows have actually abandoned and became traitors to the crown.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to cause some major retaliatory effects that they probably did not consider when they did what they did at the end of book 2,
Here's
because
the
there has to be some type of moment, and I'm afraid that that moment is going to require death of people that I remember their names.
Well, here's the thing. Brandy is using the queendom as basically what Brandy is doing is she's destabilized the queendom enough. And she's also brought in the rebels, and they're going to fight each other. And that it's almost like the queendom will implode from the inside. And I think that's her plan.
I
think
hope that's the plan.
I think she's choosing not to save the queendom, but I also don't think she's choosing to destroy it either. She's just like, I'm going to set it up so I don't have to do anything. Y'all going to destroy yourselves.
Yeah.
I think her setup is. I could be wrong, but just from how book 2 ended and how she was like, you know, her motives for not killing the queen. So now they'll be looking for the rebels because they're assuming that Brandy's a part of the rebels. Because even though she showed her power, and I think that the queen had a moment of realization, just because of how prideful the queen is, I think she's gonna backtrack. It's one of those things where you see something with your own eyes, but you have so much hubris that you deny it. And so even though the queen literally saw her in her god form, I think in the aftermath of grief, losing her children, she's gonna become enraged. She's gonna get her hubris back and like the
She's gonna
queen.
start acting reckless.
And she's not gonna connect the dots that Brandy really is a god, and she's gonna be like thinking that she's a part of the rebels, and so she's gonna go full force towards the rebels. And I think they're gonna like be taking each other out. It's like canceling each other out. So Brandy's like, okay, I don't have to save you, and I don't have to lead the rebels because she doesn't want to lead them either. And she's like, and I don't want to save the queendom. I could give a shit about it. So y'all take each other out. That is my prediction. I could be wrong.
I like this idea, but I just think it's not reckless enough. Like the queen has lost so many things near and dear to her, including her pride. Nobody's going to take her seriously after this event. Not to mention, everybody referred to Brandy as Freya's vessel. No one knows that the gods do not exist anymore, except those who became their vessels.
Yeah.
So I imagine that she's just going to count it out to being like, she's a reincarnate of Freya. Like she's not actually a god. Like I think they're going to do like propaganda thing. That part, yes. But I think the queen is going to become reckless. Also, I wonder how much
information
they have on Brandy, because usually
they have her human backstory, which is she was an orphan, blah blah blah.
They also have who she was closest to and all that information too. So in one way, I'm like, I wonder if it's going to turn into that kind of moment where the queen tries to go for her personally.
I don't think she's going to be able to find them.
I also think, and this is weird, because again, that timeline was casually, that I think there's going to be an alternate timeline situation somewhere in that third book too, because we also know that we have a lot to learn about the time beings and stuff. So maybe they just won't exist anymore on this timeline.
Maybe. This is a good point.
There were a lot of people in the room who witnessed Brandy's true form. Who's going to side with the queen after witnessing a goddess in person? That's what I was saying. I was like, she stripped the queen so effortlessly. But I do hope we get a lot. Like, this is my only, like, my request. I really want a lot of time stuff in book 3.
Yeah.
We got like, it was like little trickle truths almost in this book. I want as much as possible in book 3. I want to understand it a little bit, because right now it is such a taboo like statement in the book where I'm like, I just don't understand anything about it. And I know it's important and I just want to understand. So that's my only request. And feel free to not do us like you did us in this book. We were literally cruising until chapter 5, and like we became unwell and kind of stayed that way for a long time.
Everything
Feel
changed.
free to not do that to us. Same. Everything was good until chapter 5, and then my jaw hit the floor at chapter 21.
I know.
But thank you so much, Chelsea, for writing this. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we really appreciated it. appreciate it. Everyone go, if you have not read this book, you definitely need to. The series is wonderful, and we are very excited for the third and final book. And that concludes the reading of We Are Dying Gods and the Black Book Summit 2024. We are so excited that this was how we chose to execute this year. It was a great Black History
Yes.
Month reading this book. And yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming. And
also, don't forget, we do have our quarter book as well. And we are setting up a reading sprint this month so that we can kind of all get back into reading that book too. So if you want to join us for another read, just come back to the channel. Like you guys know, by tomorrow, all of the listings for this month's stuff will be pre-scheduled so you can see what we have coming up. But thank y'all so much for reading with us. Thanks, Ben, for showing up and giving us little moments. We appreciate you.
We really do.
Tell Chelsea that she gave us a heart attack and made us scream and cry all at the same time. Thank y'all so much for coming. Please come back.
Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, like, whatever they're calling it these days on YouTube, and stay tuned for our schedule for March on our Instagram. So if you're not following us there, make sure you are. And we will catch y'all later this month.
Bye.
Bye. Mwah. Oh,